you've made that very clear. You basically said that, once she goes back, then the police asks, then, she says everything is fine, I'm going to be okay with it now, so you can, close the case. There's also a great deal of fear that goes into someone who has mustered the courage to first complain, to then kind of, sort of, go back into their shell of abuse. And, it's difficult for so many of us to understand, and that's the reason why I've invited the both of you, because India is truly trying to come to terms with how something like this could happen. Meghna, how do you feel when you saw this letter, and were you surprised with the questions that are now being asked of the Maharashtra police, and what happened 15 months after this letter was written?
Shiv, this is all very triggering for me. I was in an abusive marriage for 5 years.
Yes.
This was, of course, 13 years ago, and it took me 8 years to be able to write about it, to be able to process it, to fully understand what actually happened to me. And I keep telling people this, especially the young people of today, that first of all, women are not rehabilitation centers for badly raised men. We need to change the conversation. Secondly, leaving a relationship, whether it's a live-in partner, an intimate partner, a marriage, it's not an event. It's a process.
Yeah.
Relationships like this die slowly, like a cancer. It's not like a heart attack that it happens suddenly. And I can feel the agony and the pain that Shraddha went through. And the only thing I want to say is we need to change the conversation. We're teaching so many difficult topics in our schools and colleges. Why are we not teaching women how to survive at life? This conversation of, there's so many resources available to women today. Whether it's the helpline numbers like 108 that you can dial, whether going to the police, you have institutionalized channels. 181 is a helpline that is dedicated to domestic violence. You can reach out to your natal family as first responders. There's a Domestic Violence Act of 2005. Because, we can blame the police all we want, but the fact is, there are so many laws of the land, but if people are not willing to act on them, what can the laws do?
Absolutely.
What can the police do? So, who do we blame? Should we blame only the perpetrator? Should we blame society? Should we blame the neighbors who could have easily heard her and didn't come to her rescue?
Yeah.
Can we blame family who knew about it? Can we blame her friends who didn't do anything? And, Shiv, I'll tell you one thing. I wrote a whole novel of this that got published this year. It's been picked into a movie. And when I was launching it at the Jaipur Lit Fest, in that 800 people audience, more than half the people were guys, and they were all applauding the loudest. The young people of this country are ready for this conversation. Our generation, I feel, used to run away from the truth, and the youth of India are running towards the truth. This is the time. I know, unfortunately, Shraddha has become the face of domestic violence in India, the way Jyoti Singh became for rape in India.
Absolutely.
But we need to stop treating domestic violence as a statistic. There are 200 million women in our country who are undergoing abuse, Shiv. That is 1 in every 3 women. But we have reduced it to a statistic.
Incredible.
We're totally desensitized.
No, I completely agree with you, Meghna. When you say, when you talked about Jyoti Singh, Nirbhaya, and you're talking about Shraddha now, I sincerely hope that all of this coverage, all of this attention being paid to this one case, becomes an inflection point as far as the narrative, the conversation is concerned.